Hold up, I ain't trying to stump, man, but the Yeezys jumped over the jump, man. I be in and out of arenas like I'm Scottie Pippen. Left my elbow in the pot, a la Vince Carter.
Bitch, you weren't with me shooting in the gym?
James Harden with the range on me, nigga, way back.
Coach, they won't knock me off my pivot, forget it.
Been flowing stupid since Vince Carter was on some through the legs arm and a hoop shit.
And you can live through anything if magic made it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, now you do.
Yes, sir. We are back. Round of applause for yourselves. This is your guy, Marcellus Ease. We got some interesting stuff on the docket today. TNT comes through at the last second and matches Amazon trying to disrupt the NBA's current TV deal. We'll go over some of the inner nuances that's going on with that situation. And Carmelo Anthony admits he would have been the third wheel had he joined the Big Three down in South Beach. We'll go over some of the intricate details of how he came to that conclusion. Also, Drake releases a diss track throwing subs at LeBron James. Oh man, the Nike Blood Brothers are going at it. We'll talk about some of the cross-branding conundrums celebrities from all aspects of entertainment are having, mixing in their brands with different parts of the algorithm in these interesting tech times. And finally, politics as usual, with Team USA going for gold, but a lot of inner dynamics played out with Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, and also Jaylen Brown. NBA legend and director of USA Basketball Grant Hill gives us insight on the selection process. So as the sports media landscape transitions into streaming, we're seeing the NBA have a major fallout with their former partner TNT, and to a degree it is their fault. But no one saw it coming that NBC would give the NBA a higher offer than they did for the NFL. $27 billion for 11 years versus the Kings of Television getting $22 billion for 11 years. That has caused TNT to scramble and actually match Amazon's C package, which is having far fewer games and exclusive rights to the in-season tournament and a few conference finals. But another monkey wrench to throw at it all is the contract language of what exactly is a match. Amazon's global reach versus TNT's reach is part of that matching. It's all in the contract language. So the NBA had rejected their offer, and TNT has promised to countersuit and try to take a chunk out of the NBA before that relationship sours. But with very keen insight, John Skipper right here, former president of ESPN, along with former Florida Marlins president David Samson, as well as Pablo Torre, spoke on the inner nuances of this situation. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
No, it's pretty official. Amazon has the whole thing up already. You can go on Amazon right now and see they're promoting NBA 2025, the whole package. So it's very clear that Adam Silver, as commissioner of the NBA, had a plan. And his plan was to get a triple of his media rights deals. And his plan was to not do a deal with TNT and Warner Brothers Discovery. Rumors are that he's upset with David Zaslav because he said we don't need the NBA in an earnings call. Adam Silver may be that spiteful, but I don't think that that's good business to be spiteful in general.
I disagree with the first thing you said, which is he started with the premise that he did not want to do a deal with TNT. I believe he started with the premise that he would renew his 2 deals and he would add a third player, and probably thought maybe a digital service would be a good third player. The emergence of NBC probably changed all that calculus.
It definitely did. They offered more money than the NFL. But interesting, John Skipper right here, former president of ESPN, he said that they wanted to do the deal with TNT, but they wanted to bring in an additional partner. And that's why Amazon was allowed in that exclusive negotiating window that the NBA had with TNT. That's why they were allowed to be part of that. But obviously things didn't work out within that negotiating window. Amazon started negotiating directly with the league for their C package. NBC came out of nowhere and offered $2.5 billion just for the B package. And of course, ESPN has the A package with over 100 games.
I do believe that he did make an offer to WBD. Yes, you can renew what you have now, or most of what you have now, for the following number. And it's been reported that that number was around $2.3 billion. So I think he pivoted when they said no. And again, it's been reported they thought that 2.1 billion was the most they would pay.
They probably was looking at those NFL numbers. That's too close to the NFL without having those ratings. But also what they should have factored in is that there's going to be an additional fee because everyone is fighting to be the first ones in the live sporting sphere in streaming. So they want audiences to get to know them first under the new live television format of streaming. Because with these deals, they're locked in for 11 years. And it's not even guaranteed that TNT would even be around by then.
There was an exclusive negotiating period, and I would like to just inform you that the NBA was not exclusively negotiating with TNT. They're going to tell you they were because that is what they have to do under their agreements. But anytime there's the right of first refusal or an exclusive period, there's so much going on the side, quietly, in the hallways where people aren't paying attention. So I don't believe that Adam Silver went through that exclusive negotiating window with TNT with the view that there was going to be a deal with TNT and had nothing ready to go. Because the pivot that you're describing, those don't happen like in 10 seconds. So I believe that there was plenty of groundwork laid and that Adam knew exactly where this was going. And that has manifested itself in Adam's statements, his lack of real worry over this lawsuit, his ability to go in front of the world in a microphone and say, it's complicated, but we've got 3 partners and we're announcing it with press releases and quotes.
Well, I don't think that contradicts what I said. I believe that the NBA put in front of WBD. So how do you answer the question of if WBD had said yes, they would have a deal?
For 2.3.
For 2.3.
So I would tell you that he put in front, have you ever made an offer to someone that you know they can't accept or they won't accept?
Interesting that David Sampson had brought this up because it's rumored within those Amazon negotiations, there is an upfront payment for about 4 to 5 years. And it leaves us to wonder if the NBA, along with Amazon, structured it that way, knowing that TNT was unlikely to match. It's a $20 billion 11-year deal. So imagine TNT paying $7 billion up front at the start of the deal. We know Amazon got that money floating around.
Sometimes it's a low ball. Sometimes it's that you're making them do something you know they can't do. And that's the whole case we're in right now.
Well, of course, there is no way we can know that. It is my belief, based not upon firsthand knowledge, but about knowing the parties involved a bit and how these things work. I do believe they made a good faith offer that WBD could have accepted, and if they had, they would have the NBA rights. I don't think it was a trick. And by the way, again, I don't have...
There's a lot in between a trick and a good faith offer.
And also at the same time, these guys had to come correct. So once the NBA gave them the number that they expected, TNT would have to come correct off rip because they have very little leverage. Their business is still attached to cable TV where subscribers are dwindling. They don't have the reach from the other potential partners that's coming into play. Amazon alone has the real estate of Thursday Night Football that they could attach the NBA to get the ratings up. TNT not only had these things going against them, they also cannot match Amazon's offer with just that property being attached to Thursday Night Football. There's multiple layers of what TNT could not match versus Amazon, including global reach.
I like that David is positing the opposite of a Godfather offer. It is an offer you must refuse.
It's an offer that you can't not refuse. Exactly. And I love what you're saying because you use the words good faith, and that's part of the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Good faith, as we know, that's a legal term. It's not just between friends at a dinner.
It is a legal term, but as you know, a very difficult term to adjudicate on.
Which is why I don't think WBD can prevail here. But I understand why you have to say that the NBA did all this in good faith, because that is one of the basic tenets of the lawsuit. However, to not give NBA credit, and I think it's insulting to the NBA to say that they did not have an alternate plan.
Well, no, they always had, and I've said this repeatedly, they always had, all you have to have is one more bidder than you have packages. They knew they had more than 3 bidders at some point. I don't think that led them to go, well, we want to cut TNT out. I genuinely believe that at the start of the negotiation, they would have been quite happy if TNT and ESPN had renewed. They took some content from both parties, took some content that was formerly regional. That's why Mr. Dolan has protested, and made a third package. And they would have been happy if that third package was Amazon, because they did want a digital partner. They would have also have listened, however, to NBC. And if ESPN, as reported, paid 2.6 and NBC paid 2.5, they would have been happy with a 2.6, 2.5.
Woo, that's kind of crazy. ESPN paid 2.6 for the A package. That's including well over 80 games and also the NBA Finals. The fact that NBC almost paid the same amount of money for far less, it shows you that they're making a major play to gain real estate in the live sports streaming world going forward. They want people to think of them as the brand new ESPN when it comes to streaming.
2.3, that would have given them more money. I think they would have settled for NBC, WBD, and ESPN. They were in the proverbial catbird seat.
That wasn't the third package, the 2.3.
No, I'm suggesting that
it would have been more assets.
I'm suggesting that they could have, if WBD had said, yes, we'll do 2.3, ESPN said, yes, we'll do 2.6, you still have a very hungry NBC, which could have paid 2 point something, and they could have actually ended up with even more money with those three parties had that happened. Now, I'm not suggesting that was ever the contemplated end game here.
Yeah, but John Skipper knows inside information. He knows NBC is making a major play to combat ESPN when it comes to direct-to-consumer with live sports streaming. He knows that. So they're aggressive. The NBA, if they were pretty shrewd, they possibly could have got three packages almost at the same price point. No wonder there were rumors of a potential fourth package.
They might have decided that being on a streaming service was worth taking a little bit less money in order to be on the kind of service that in the future will be almost exclusively the parties that are carrying sports.
So I want to give an update here. Andrew Marchand at The Athletic provides a, quote, interesting nugget. That's his own phrasing here. Amazon joined the exclusive negotiating period after the NBA secured permission from TNT and ESPN to bring them in. On this note, I am told TNT Sports initiated the idea of bringing Amazon in. TNT declined comment. End quote.
So that's when you partner up with someone who has something to bring to the table that you don't have, where the NBA wanted the reach of an Amazon and of their streaming platform, and TNT couldn't match it with Max because not as many subs, and it doesn't have the reach or the power. So when you don't think that you can answer an RFP, whether it's a request for proposal, whether it's to build a building or whether it's to do a TV deal, you often do a joint venture. You partner. That's what mergers are, basically. So is there a world where TNT and Amazon would have made a joint bid, in theory, for an NBA package? It would not have been the C package. It would have been a joint bid for an A/B package.
Yeah. And it shows you the desperation of TNT to still go for a C package at $1.8 billion a year. Again, during the exclusive negotiating window, the NBA might have came at them for 2.3 to 2.4 for the B package.
I think the answer is mostly yes. We're clearly in very speculative territory, so I have no knowledge that this could have happened. But WBD could have been thinking, gee, maybe the NBA will be satisfied with our 2.1 instead of 2.3 if Amazon comes up with $1.5 billion, $1.8 billion, $2 billion, and they'll be fine. That's kind of not the way it works. You don't, it would have satisfied them had NBC not clearly been, the NBC was very public. I would disagree that there were negotiations with NBC. The reason NBC was very public with it was to make sure Adam understood if for some reason WBD doesn't step up to what you want, we're here. Come see us as soon as you have gotten through your exclusive negotiating period. I got it.
John,
people have lunches.
Your
people
theory
talk.
is that they did it through the media? And NBC let Adam Silver know, God, I hope he buys the Post today.
I got to say, I did a lot of negotiations with leagues, including baseball, and I never tried to negotiate for somebody else's content before they got through their exclusive negotiating period. I often told people, get through your period and we'll talk about it. We didn't.
What's that?
Well, that's not negotiating. That is simply letting them know you're there as a partner.
You don't think that impacts how we would act during an exclusive negotiating period if you know that there's someone waiting for you on the other side with an open wallet and a big hug, that it makes you play hardball during that exclusive period?
Of course, but I also was on the other side of that, meaning I often had the exclusive negotiating period, and I believed my job was never to get out of that so that they could go talk to them. And I do believe in my negotiations with MLB and with NFL and NHL, and in NHL, I could never get them out of the exclusive negotiating period with other people in most cases. They ended up doing the deal before I got a chance to put an offer on the table. So I do think the leagues are very careful not to do anything that gives anyone the right to dispute that their exclusive negotiating period was violated.
John,
exclusive negotiating period doesn't mean that you can't talk to somebody and say, I'll be here for you. But if you think I'm kidding about ever sitting in a room with a league and going, here's what I'll do for you if they don't pay you, I never did that.
But John Skip already knows negotiations were already shaky. That's why Amazon was brought in as a third partner during that exclusive negotiating window. So word around the campfire is going to get out there.
So let me make sure.
David, for the YouTube and DraftKings audience, is almost seizuring.
No, you're saying something that it struck a chord, and I want to make sure I heard it right. The NHL, let's talk about the past of the NHL and their fees and their rights deals. Do we agree that they were not getting a lot of money for their TV? Are you willing to at least acknowledge that?
Would depend what you mean by a lot of money. They were not getting as much money as the other leagues because they
had a very hard time getting a TV deal.
No, they didn't have a hard time getting a TV deal. They had an easy time getting a TV deal. They had a hard time getting the amount of money they wanted to get from the TV deal.
Thank you. I'm very sorry. And so when you say that they did not take advantage of your willingness to do a deal because you never got them out of their exclusive negotiating period, did you say that exactly?
Yeah, I can't have the exact recollection because I tried to get an NHL package at least 2 cycles and did not succeed. I do not believe they ever came out, in at least one of those, I do not believe they ever came out of their negotiating window. I don't think I ever got to negotiate when they were out of their exclusive window.
But when you saw the deal that was done, did you say to your people at ESPN, wow, we would have done twice that?
No, never twice that. But would I have paid more money? Probably. The answer is probably yes.
And so there was no way for you to get that information to anyone?
No, because the rules of engagement are they can't call me legally. They cannot call me and say, oh, by the way, John, I'm going to get $200 million. Would you pay $225?
I've been in some bad rooms, I think, because I understand you're saying legally and you're right. But what blows me away is that if ESPN or anybody, it's like when you're selling a house, it's when you're doing anything. If you know that the market is there to get more for your asset, you're going to do whatever you have to do to maximize the value of your asset. And the NHL was desperate to get better TV deals.
And you could tell word around the campfire was already getting out with the special announcements some of these companies were making. ESPN saying they're going to go direct to consumer by 2025. And also ESPN, Fox Sports, and Discovery announcing that they're going to do a bundle under one platform. So the marketplace is hungry for content, and the NBA has the audience regardless of the ratings.
To the legal question at the heart of TNT's objection here, which is that we matched. We had a right to match. Amazon provided X. We're also ready to provide X. And the NBA, now this is their quote from their spokesman, Mike Bass, Warner Brothers Discovery's claims are without merit and our lawyers will address them, period, end quote.
Oh.
Now, for some of you listening, WBD is Warner Brothers Discovery. They're the parent company of TNT. Just a FYI.
So great.
It's so good, and they saved $20,000.
I like how this is also the show where we become aroused by press releases.
It's not ideal.
But
Only fans for press releases.
That's right.
But you see the difference? I want to point out to the audience.
It's
incredible.
It indicates a confidence And I believe that it's also to WBD, it reeks of an arrogance. But I wonder how justified, truly, like, my understanding is, and I want you guys to corroborate this or refute it, is that the clause in the contract, the matching clause, was not so specific, given that it was written at the time that John and TNT at the time negotiated it. It was not so narrowly defined about streaming or anything else. But there is this implication that Amazon is a company that cannot be matched by its very nature by TNT and WBD.
And that contract that was constructed around 2014 and then officially signed by 2017, these streaming players weren't this large. So with TNT taking this to court, is there something in that contract language that binds the NBA to that matching clause? And with the league going forward, is there any language in the contracts where they can collect data and have access to the audience's information? Make no mistake about it, Amazon, Netflix, NBC through their app, they're going to be collecting data. And that part of the game alone could be worth just as much as those contracts.
It's a very interesting legal question because the matching provisions are always very hazy. Because as we said on a previous episode here, it's not that you write down 10 points and that one company agrees to them and then the other company just has to agree to those 10 points. And then it's a full match. It's a very complicated deal that you negotiate.
Right. Remember, that would have been done back in 2013 or 2014. So you couldn't have known how many subscribers Amazon was going to have. You couldn't have known how many countries they were going to be in or how many people watched them. So you couldn't write in there, oh, gee, if Amazon had a 200 million subscribers around the world, you have to match that. So probably I have the feeling, and I think you'll agree, David, that the NBA here has the stronger legal case. I don't think for a moment that they would release that statement unless they had talked to their lawyers. They have very good lawyers internally and externally, and they've told them, you have nothing to worry about should this come to a quick resolution in a court of law. Now you get to a more interesting question, which is, it doesn't mean, even though the NBA may be right about that WBD cannot create consternation, spilkus for the NBA.
That's just a sweet way of saying, let's just put the NBA through a bunch of mental hurdles through long litigation.
Agree with that, David?
I do, but I think I'd like you to go then back to my original statement, which is the NBA got its confidence and it got the ability to release a one-phrase statement because they had lawyered this deal with Amazon so thoroughly with the matching provision in mind. Remember, the lawyers for the NBA know the matching provision. They were there. And Adam Silver's no dummy. You know that. And he doesn't suffer fools gladly. When he's doing Amazon, he's telling Amazon, we're not using you as a stalking horse. Trust me. Warner Brothers cannot match this. You keep going with us. You are going to be our partner.
Yeah.
I believe that that's how it went down.
He followed it step by step. He said, there's 5 days. You have 5 days to show you can match. WBD did on the 5th day, and I believe the next day or the day after,
it was the
I
next
can't remember.
Monday to
the
Tuesday.
Next day, they released a statement that said, this is not
no
a
match.
Yeah.
And then they announced. So
Period.
what Adam Silver did even more as an up FU to WBD, they did a press release, a far bigger one than that one sentence, when they announced their deal with Amazon, with NBC, and with ESPN, with full quotes from all of the principals of those companies, including the NBA. So while Adam can call a press conference and say, listen, it's complicated, I don't want to get too far into it, the fact is he's all in, that he is going to win this case.
Well, and just think, Amazon is not going to do the negotiation unless, as you pointed out, they're convinced that there is no way to match. They're not going to put their names on a press release, which was probably done before the 5th day was over. They did take a look at what WBD sent them. They're like, oh, just as we thought, they cannot match. But so Amazon has satisfied themselves they're in a good legal position. NBC has satisfied themselves that they're in a good legal position. Because remember, theoretically, WBD, didn't they suggest they could match either one?
So the case is actually, with like an injunction, what they're actually asking for is to get rid of all three. They're asking the court to say that we're going to stop the NBA from doing a deal with anybody while we figure this out. That's what WBD wants, but they're not going to get that injunction, but that's what they've asked for.
Right? So now I just want to recap what WBD has been doing. They hired this press release, this fancy press firm to release all of these things into the world. They're working journalists, talking heads, people behind the scenes. Again, we started with a two-part statement from TNT. The first part about the legal case, the second part about the fans. And Charles Barkley, the most famous broadcaster, the greatest broadcaster in the history of NBA broadcasting, you might argue, has said the same thing. He's echoed this. So they're working the PR side, the public relations side, the civic unrest side. So what is the end game here? So they have these two tracks.
They're suing for either specific performance, which means they want the judge to say, all right, you matched it, you get to do NBA games. Or in the alternative, if you're not going to grant me the right to broadcast NBA games, then pay me.
So
those are the two things they want. That the judge is unlikely to grant an injunction.
Yes.
And that I agree with you, because there's a year left on the deal, and there's no way that Warner Brothers is walking into court and saying, we are so damaged by what's happening that if you don't, that's what an injunction is, if you don't stop it right this second, every minute is like multiple damages. That's hard to convince the court when it comes to this deal with the NBA. But if the injunction is not granted, which I don't think it will be, and there's no settlement, then you proceed toward a trial, a case.
Ooh. TNT is not going to take it that far. They're just hoping for a quick payout, or who knows, maybe a discount on that final year.
Hard to me that I don't know this, but it seems hard to me that WBD thinks they're going to prevail in a court case, either get an injunction or actually go to trial and see a verdict that says, well, actually, you're right, and you're going to get the NBA. So that means they must think they're going to get something else. And the only thing I can think of is they think they're going to create enough consternation that they're going to put lawyers in a room and say, what would you settle for? And my guess is what they would settle for is money. At one point, it occurred to me that what they might like is actually to be relieved of their obligation to pay 1.2, 1.3 billion dollars in the upcoming season, and let Amazon or NBC start early. And that way, Mr. Zaslav could say to his board, not only did I not overpay for 11 years of the NBA, but I'm going to save $1 billion and a half dollars. Now, that creates all sorts of problems. I don't think NBC, busy with the Olympics, suddenly wants to turn around and do another season of the NBA right away, or start in the NBA right away. Amazon doesn't have the production capabilities to do that.
They can take Turner's people.
Well, exactly. And then maybe Turner could save even more money by charging Amazon to do the production.
Take Barkley.
Yeah.
And also, TNT is in their final year dealing with Comcast. So they're going to have to renegotiate. And I'm pretty sure they don't want their final numbers for 2025 to not include NBA ratings. Companies usually want to see recent stats, and that's not going to really look too good. And there are some more inner nuances with them renegotiating with Comcast. That is the parent company of NBC, who basically made an offer that the NBA couldn't refuse, thus messing up the deal for them.
Barkley off their hands and pay for that. So I can only think that they're expecting somehow to save some money out of this.
That's an interesting theory, because what you're saying is that the end game for WBD would be, forget the fact that we want the extra deal. We don't even want this current deal. It was an overpay what we're doing now.
Yeah,
What's
not
their
the way
stock price?
they'd put it, of course, right? They'd put it that you're causing us, by refusing our matching right, you're damaging us. We're going to continue with our suit. But if you would like to make us a financial offer, we will go away. We'll save some money. My board maybe will be happy, and you start with your new partners. I don't know that.
Did you budget nuisance fees with ESPN? We used to budget them.
So
nuisance is when someone sues you,
yeah,
and you just don't feel like dealing with it, so you pay them. Whether it's a foul ball, whether someone
is that a
slip
legal
and fall,
term, nuisance fee?
That's just what I would call it. It's like, don't bother me. It's like a gnat. Like, it's not worth it to have my lawyer spend 1 hour talking to you.
Every big company settles suits that they believe are more of a nuisance than the money involved is worth doing. right? It's sort of funny because people always assume, well, if you settled, you must be guilty. It's not true. Always. It may be true sometimes, but sometimes it's just, oh, it's going to cost me $10,000 to make this person go away. It's going to cost me $100,000 to
In legal
adjudicate
fees
it.
and in time.
I'll just pay the 10 because we can afford to. It's not an admission of guilt.
So the NBA they could have in their mind a number. And that's how settlements happen, where the NBA would say, you know what, this just is not worth it to me anymore. We will pay you, David Zaslav, to disappear.
I'm trying to get a sense of the weapons left on the table, the moves, the punishing nature of what it means to be in negotiations against not just a media company, but in Comcast, something that is doing deals with media companies like WBD, right? The difference between being, give me the term of art, John, between being a media company like TNT versus a cable company, now more than that in Comcast.
Well, what's interesting, of course, is it's already been speculated that NBC may have included in their calculations for doing an NBA deal the fact that they would be taking it from a company that's going to be asking them for distribution fees. It was reported this week, I believe, by John Arand, that the deal, that last deal that Turner did, not WBD, but TNT, TBS, True TV, perhaps among other channels, ends deliciously December 31st, 2025, which will be about 2 months into the new NBA deal that NBC holds.
So once again, they'll be entering into those negotiations without the NBA, just only a few months out. So ratings might dip for just those few months. But the parent company, NBC, regardless, could be looking to save some of that money that they gave the NBA on the TNT deal.
They're holding their larger company, Comcast, will have the opportunity to renegotiate the fees that they pay True TV, TBS, TNT at that point. It has been reported that TNT gets $3. TBS probably gets something not too far from that. True TV gets something very far from that.
Out of the monthly cable bill.
Out of the monthly, well, it's not a monthly, it's out of the monthly cable bill, not directly. The distributor pays for the content. They then put it in a bundle of content. They mark it up an appropriate amount or an inappropriate, depending on what you think, amount, and that's what they charge the consumer. The consumer has no idea what they're paying for TBS, TNT, and True TV.
The consumer may not know what they're paying for, but all they know, that package now does not include the NBA. So how attractive really is going to be that package? Comcast will consider this in their renegotiations.
But this deal will come up, interestingly enough, at the end of 25. Let's say that they're getting approximately somewhere between $5 and $7. That means if they don't renew the deal, and let's say they have 12 million subscribers at the time, that's somewhere between $60 and $84 million a month. They did just buy at one of the networks, TNT or TBS, 2 college football games, one of which may be on the first day they'd be off the air. That holds some power. I don't think it has enough power to prevent Comcast from saying, we're not going to pay you $9 next year, nor $8, nor $7. We'd like to pay you less. And just as Comcast just took Diamond off for what, about 3 months?
Regional Sports Network, yep.
They'll take these channels off the air, and they can take that money, theoretically, off of the price they paid for the NBA. Oh, we paid $2.5, yeah, but we'll save about $75 million every month they're not on the air. I do not believe all that matters then is whether some of their 12 million or so subscribers at the time decide, oh, I want to see that college game bad enough that I'm going to switch to somebody else, YouTube TV or the new cable bundle that will feature all the sports channels, which includes True TV, TBS, and so there'll be a big fight here. And I do believe that this will cost WBD some money because they're either going to get lower distribution fees or they're going off the air for some period of time in January 2026.
Man,
I just wanted to simplify two things that were said there. I'm trying to follow, and I did, but I just want to say, make sure I have this right. When you can do a deal where you make yourself stronger, but you also make your opponent weaker, that increases the breadth of the victory that you have by doing a deal. Is there a world where Comcast and NBC got together and said, if we get the NBA and TNT doesn't, not only do we have the NBA and TNT doesn't, but also we have as part of our world a cable company called Comcast, where people pay us every month to get cable channels. One of the cable channels we get that we give our customers is TNT. But now who wants TNT? It's a bunch of SVU and Law and Order. There's going to be no basketball, maybe a football game once in a while.
TBS
maybe
is
some
going to
tennis.
have some college football
They'll have
games,
the French
yeah.
Open. They've got stuff. But
Stanley Cup
without...
playoffs.
And that old business model, just TNT bundling so many things, TBS and TNT will get some of the top-notch games while TBS will get some other games that you want, followed by, let's say, if they had a local network. Very similar to ESPN having ABC. They put the finals on that local network. That type of bundling worked under the old model. But when it comes to streaming, audiences don't really have the patience for that. It's more direct to consumer. It's more on demand. You watch it when you want it, however you want it. You can hit pause and come back and watch it another day. But that very same bundling is hurting Comcast customers. They're paying a lot more money for it. It has far more programming that they don't want versus what they want. And by NBC doing the deal, they just cut out the middleman. They no longer have to pay a premium on a TNT package just to offer their customers.
Without the NBA, people are really not going to want TNT the way they did. Therefore, we're not going to pay TNT for its content the way we did. Therefore, we're going to save money. And therefore, we can take some of that savings and apply it to what we spent to ruin them by getting the NBA. Boy, that is Machiavellian. And it's not impossible that that's part of the calculation, but that really is something else. And you're either going to be right or wrong, because if there's a carriage dispute at the end of 25, that does save Comcast $60-70 million a month. That's significant.
It is significant. And look, if another party,
And it makes sense for the overpay. That's where TNT really messed up, is allowing for that wiggle room of NBC coming in there, even throwing an NFL type deal for just a B package. Now allowing Comcast to have extra leverage in coming to negotiations with Turner Sports. They possibly could save enough money to justify overpaying for the NBA.
had actually kept the NBA or had lost, it doesn't matter. They would have the cable dispute. And I don't think it was Machiavellian. That's smart. You're going to look at everything. You're going to look at the promotional power of the NBA to drive your other sports, right? During Olympic year, they can take the NBA and all those ratings and drive Olympics ratings up. They will save money. Comcast will save money from fees they don't have to pay TNT. Sure, they figured all that out. I don't believe, it's funny that we disagree on the sort of negotiating during a exclusive negotiating window, but I don't see anything wrong with NBC having done all that. They're not violating anything to look at all the benefits they'll receive from paying for a new NBA deal. It might help them launch broadcast shows on NBC.
Correct, and that's another layer to this whole puzzle, is the content creation around live sports. What's going to be the new First Take kind of style of shows, the new Undisputeds? It's not a coincidence a lot of these shows are dying down just as streaming is about to take off with live sports. And the viewing audience's interaction with some of these live shows, it might not work under that streaming format. The whole suit and tie, pre-game and post-game show for an hour with these interviews. Remember, these games are going to be on platforms where you can just hit one button, then 20, 30 movies and documentaries all pop up in one screen. So there is going to be plenty of room for more attention-grabbing kind of formats of what's going to be the new pre-game show or post-game show under streaming and all the other undisputed First Take kind of shows. It wouldn't shock me if this will become a brand new marketplace for online personalities not only to shine, but to also collect the bag.
A distributor, a cable distributor, is a buyer and a seller. WBD is trying to sell. I mean, it's just funny that as much as we are looking ahead to Amazon and the tech future that has been now the NBA's goal in that C tier, third tier package, we're also watching the backroom knifing that
That's
goes
why our
on
Justice Department is so busy.
with cable television networks and distributors.
I don't see what they have to deal with here. These companies compete. They're competing fairly.
Not in this case. I was talking about the mergers that happen.
Okay.
They are definitely competing, but the lines are blurred because now with the media sort of infusing within tech, it opens them up to different markets that they normally would have never participated in. Amazon is really products based, but now they're doing live sports. Same thing for NBC Studios and ESPN. They were once just local broadcasting networks. Now they're offering streaming directly to consumers, no different than Netflix. And if Netflix is looked at as a tech company, what does that make ESPN? So the technology has allowed the lines to be blurred as different players now have their hands in different marketplaces, offering different products to their customers. We'll see how this plays out. The contract language that these sports leagues will have to have entering into the world of streaming is going to be a lot different. There has to be access to the audience data and also a way to track the ratings. When those 11 years are up, who will the NBA, the NFL, MLS, WNBA, what numbers and data will they be presenting to not only future streamers, but also the ones they're currently in partnership with? The lines are also blurred there too, because all the metrics will be coming from those same companies handing out the checks. A third-party data tracking would be more logical. But hey, this is all truly the new Wild West. Now, Carmelo Anthony had did a sit-down with Paul George, and he spoke about the famous banana boat situation and why wasn't he down there in South Beach with LeBron James and D Wade. And in this segment, Melo will imply that he would be regulated to being the third option. Keep in mind, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade started constructing this idea around 2008, and Melo by that time already had numerous playoff appearances, and he made his way into the Western Conference Finals. That is the conundrum of Carmelo Anthony, his success in the earlier portion of his career. You could make a very well argument that he was Rookie of the Year over LeBron James, leading his team to the NBA playoffs, as they very similar to Cleveland, haven't experienced any playoff success, and it was also done in a tougher division. So Melo, his first few years in, made the playoffs each season, while it took LeBron James 3 to 4 years to get there. But when it comes to winning championships, that's something completely different. And Melo, even in that prime form in 2010, would have been the third option to D Wade and LeBron James. That is 100% correct. But he spoke on it. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Man, we gotta ask about the infamous banana boat crew. Right?
Shit.
You, D Wade, Bron, CP. Was there any moment of y'all ever teaming up? Or was there conversations of y'all ever teaming up somewhere in the league? Between y'all banana?
Us four?
Yeah, y'all four.
Before the Big Three, the Miami Big Three, it was talks about me and Bron, like, because we were out of me, him, and D Wade. Like, it was me and him close, and D Wade was kind of like, and then it was like me and D Wade close, and then Bron and D Wade was close, but we never was like all three, locked in until we started going and getting old, you know what I mean? And then we had like experiences, played on the, world championship team, and I think that's when it kind of really started to like blossom. And I think it was because we lost together. We felt the same pain, we felt the same sentiment, so that brought us all three together.
But they wasn't all in the same place. That's the difference. Melo had experienced consistent success. D Wade had experienced the pinnacle of success really early on, followed by a lot of playoff losses and not being able to get over a certain hump. LeBron James, on the other hand, experienced earlier failures in Cleveland, not even making the playoffs. And of course, due to his talents, experienced great success, being one of the top seeded teams in the East, but that did have a conundrum attached to it. He was out there in Cleveland, couldn't quite recruit free agents. The Cavs barely were able to muster guys like Antoine Jameson and Larry Hughes, but they really couldn't land a big fish. So all three of these guys were in different places around this time. And in a way, I don't fault Melo for just wanting to go out on his own. Because at that time, his proof of concept, it was working. Especially out there in the West. That shit was tough.
Bron, it was always like, yo, we got to make it happen. Like, some way, somehow, the opportunity comes, let's make it happen. We just never knew where.
I could tell you what, it was never happening in Cleveland. Even Chris Bosh, after the South Beach tour, he did not want to make that stop with LeBron James out there in Cleveland. LeBron, as great as he is, he was not getting guys to come out there easily.
You know what I mean? Like, we could around with each other, but where? And you going to New York? Like, I ain't going to Cleveland, nigga. Like, you coming to Denver? Like, I ain't going to Cleveland, chick. So it was just like, as friends and like competitors growing up together, it's like, yeah, we want to, I would love to play with PG on this team.
Right.
You know what I mean? Kel on this team, but that was always like just like a what if being Bron.
Right.
Then the conversation got serious after like 06, 07, 08 with the big three. So they were supposed to go, it was supposed to be Bosh and Wade, and then me and Bron, like going somewhere. We just couldn't find out where. And we wanted it to be New York.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Somewhere. Or Chicago. Chicago was in the fold.
Okay. With you and Bron?
Me and Bron. But I was like, if we gonna find a place, then let it be go to Chicago. Like, I'm in Denver, you're in Cleveland, free agency hit, let's try to make it work.
Make that happen.
I didn't know at the time of the collective bargaining agreement, again, I wasn't as educated on the game, on the business of the game, on the business of the sport. So I didn't understand contracts and 3 years, 5 years, you know what I mean? That lockout. I knew a little bit, but I wasn't really business savvy enough to understand what was about to happen. So in my situation, I was in Denver, we was in the playoffs every year, we was 50 plus wins, like we was building something in Denver, so I didn't want to leave, so why take a 3-year deal? No, I'm locked into this 5-year deal.
And that's always been the crux of Carmelo Anthony. His peers, D Wade and LeBron, always made sacrifices to win when it came to not only their long-term deals, but willing to take a pay cut to leave breathing room to construct a proper team to go after a championship. And it's understandable that Melo was hesitant right then and there around 2007, 2008. But later on into his career, he continuously made the same mistake, especially re-signing with the New York Knicks in 2014 for the full max. Even though they had no assets, no good players on the team, they pretty much was in no man's land, but yet Melo still took a full max deal.
And it was like 5 years, like, I don't know, 85, some shit like that.
Right.
And I got ridiculed for taking a 5-year deal. Like, what? You know where the come from? I'm not leaving no money on the table. But this was me at that, at that age. Like, I'm not.
And he deserved the money. He should take the money. But he's got to take everything that it comes with. The lack of playoff success, no final appearances or NBA championships. He's got to take all that to the chin.
No money on the table. But this was me at that, at that age. Like, I'm not leaving no money on the table. Yeah. I'm happy. I'm winning. I'm in Denver. We building something. Right. We got new powder blue uniforms. Like, we popping out here.
That's right.
Right? So I don't want to leave this to go do something that I might regret later down the line. And also at that time, I wasn't ready to go partner and team up with nobody.
Mm-hmm.
That was not a standard back then. If you were the captain of your team, you were expected to go up against the other team's captain, not join up. What LeBron James did in 2010 by joining the Miami Heat, it shifted the whole paradigm of the league. Now it's the norm for players to go partner up with each other. And now, in order to weave out that shift, the league instituted CBA rules that make it real hard for teams to ever construct what they had down in South Beach in 2010.
Because I was building my own in Denver. Mm-hmm. So to leave my own team up with somebody, it wouldn't have worked. Because we were all young and and we all going down our own path. So I'm over here. Like, whatever y'all gonna do, y'all gonna do. So I get the call when they say, yo, it's a lockout. Lockout's coming. Yo, we taking a 3-year deal. Right? So let me think about that. Hit y'all back, man. Hit y'all back. called my agent at the time, which was, I think I was with Bill Duffy at the time and Calvin Andrews. And I'm like, 3-year deal. Yo, bro, it's no conversation. I'm staying. I'm taking a 5-year 85. I'm staying in Denver. I'm happy, boom, boom. So they was trying to finagle how to make that work. And then it was like, I think one of them had to take like 16 and the other one 17 and the other one like, you know what I mean? Like all of them had to really sacrifice, which I take my hat off to them.
Yep, they made that sacrifice to get Pat Riley more breathing room for the bench and to get Udonis Haslem back on the team. He made the ultimate sacrifice overall. That summer, Haslem definitely qualified to get a decent contract.
For doing that, because that's hard as to leave at that point in time in your career, young like that, we always at the top of the game.
Right.
And just say all of that and come together, like nobody was thinking about that. So when they did it, it just made everybody like, oh, Melo, you could have been the fourth one.
Now right there, Melo would have never been the fourth one. It would have only been 3 players. So Chris Bosh would have been X'd out of that, but Melo would have been the third option. That's really what he means right here. His play style is great for the regular season, but when you're going for championships, especially where the Miami Heat in those times played defense, I believe they had a stretch where they won over 25 plus games in a row. Those guys were playing some immaculate defense, and that's an aspect to Carmelo's game that he would really have to improve on. And best believe Pat Riley would have been on his ass about fully being in shape. There's very key sacrifices superstar players have to make when they want to get to that championship level.
Now, and it's just, I'm going to keep it a buck. Imagine me at 23 years old, 24 years old, being the fourth option on the team when I'm leading my team every single year. Like I'm finding my way in this league.
Right.
And you want me to leave that and go be a fourth option.
I believe he would have been age 25, 26. So it's not that far-fetched of taking a pay cut to try to win now, because you are beginning to hit the latter part of your prime. The part where your IQ and your athleticism sort of combine at the perfect point before the athleticism starts to weigh down and the basketball IQ starts to continuously go up.
I don't know mentally how I was going to be ready for that.
And mentally, he had the same issue by the time he was in Oklahoma City, not wanting to come off the bench. So Melo's one of the greatest scorers we've ever seen in the league, but his willingness not to adapt and not making the key sacrifices that had to be made in order to get to that championship level is really what caused him a lot of the stresses in the latter part of his career. Had Chris Bosh been X'd out of the equation, Melo no doubt would have been the third option. There would never be 4 options. These guys will have to take such a significant pay cut, it might not even be worth it. D Wade already had the resume by that time with the finals MVP, just being that type of caliber player that you can take all the way to the finish line. And of course, LeBron James being the ultimate NBA prodigy and just his overall talent and basketball IQ. So this will be part 2 of a series I like to call Cross-Branding Conundrums, as Drake this time around takes it to a whole nother notch by having one of his tracks leak out where he threw some shots at LeBron James as the Nike Blood Brothers. They're at an interesting crossroads with a lot of these fake relationships. We tend to see these type of things play out in hip hop a lot more, but with social media marketing, these guys are basically walking algorithms, and there's so much free cross marketing that they can do with each other. It's pretty much undeniable. But let's check it out.
Wait on whoever to say whatever, they quiet as fuck. The city don't love you like that and they frying you up. I can't wait for the day that you choose to retire your stuff. Taking off the sneakers cause you tired of tying them up. That one day you wake up and tell them enough is enough. That's when you gonna find out you not Kobe Bryant to us. Hey, you not Kobe Bryant to us.
Now with this leak, Drizzy Drake cannot say that this is AI. That's been an ongoing habit of his throughout the past few years, but AI does not have flow. Once again, listen to the very end of this track. There can be no excuses that this leak is not him.
Off the sneakers cause you tired of tying them up. That one day you wake up and tell them enough is enough. That's when you gonna find out you not Kobe Bryant to us. Hey, you not Kobe Bryant to us.
They always say the NBA is a petty league. Well, you mix that in with hip hop. You got the petty kings. No pun intended at LeBron, but during these Olympics, LeBron was letting his pettiness come out too, taking a photo with Savannah in a Kendrick Lamar PG Lang shirt. And it's the way he took the photo, he's cheesing extra hard. But LeBron is in a very interesting place in his career. He's trying to ingrain his brand with the LA market. And being that the song of the summer, Not Like Us, completely being a West Coast anthem, LeBron being at Kendrick Lamar's pop out made perfect sense. Because make no mistake about it, he's not going to sacrifice his brand for Drake. And I'm sure Drake wouldn't do the same for him. But again, these mega stars are walking algorithms in today's social media marketing landscape, whatever you want to call it. Just guys on these levels taking a photo together, just introducing their audience to a different audience. That type of marketing is worth millions of dollars, and it's all being done for free on social media. And the hip hop artists to a degree do it in streaming, where you see all these albums have the same features, the same Travis Scott's, the same Ice Spice features. It's just basically everyone sharing algorithms. But again, there's a lot of gray areas within this whole situation. Drake this summer is in the middle of launching his own sneakers with his brand Nocta along with Nike. And right now the sales are tanking, along with LeBron James being caught during the Olympics saying Not Like Us is one of his favorite tracks of the summer, while Stephen Curry saying he's tired of it. So it's like adding more fuel to the fire, but at the same time in the back end, that shit is hurting Drake. But there's very unique ways that Drake and Nike have a way of maneuvering a lot of his merchandise and making it look like it's selling. A random soccer team in Italy was going bankrupt, and Drake out of nowhere came out and did a venture deal with them with his brand, and allegedly he bailed them out for $40 million. So it's looking like he funneled a lot of his shoe sales and his merchandise in a direction with that team and that fan base to try to get his sales up. There's a lot of moving parts, but Drake brand is struggling, and LeBron is supposed to be his man's. We all know Drake got that tattoo of LeBron. This whole scenario is a clusterfuck, but once again, LeBron at this stage of his career, he's not going to sacrifice this opportunity to ingratiate himself with LA. This is a perfect moment for him to merge his brand and show support with this whole LA movement that's going on through this Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. I tell you what, these fake friendships just to hit the algorithm right, they gotta definitely end. And interesting enough, the track that started it all, with Metro Boomin, Future, and Kendrick Lamar. Listen to Travis Scott get so hyped to introduce this track to the crowd at Rolling Loud. Once again, these two guys are supposed to be friends. We're seeing the cross-branding conundrums between these mega stars. Even the intro to this whole fucking beef started out with kind of a fake friendship, passive-aggressive jab.
Just play that. Oh, man. Please, bro. I'm sorry, bro. Metro's trying to get out of here. You want the album right now, nigga?
Travis Scott already knows what was queued up in that track. But these are interesting times. And LeBron James, unlike in 2018, he cannot have Drake go on his show, The Shop, and sort of curate how Drake really didn't take a loss and that he came back out with a fire album after bowing down to Pusha T. See, that's another thing. LeBron on his show helped bring Drake back after losing that battle, for him to go on an epic run that's never been seen before in hip-hop history after losing a battle. He helped his Nike brother come back in the fold. That was Drake's first interview, first pop-out since losing the Pusha T beef. And in a way, LeBron could not take any more losses, because in that appearance, LeBron helped curate a storyline of Drake coming back with some fire tracks, for only the track to leak out months later during this beef that Drake did not even write the song. So LeBron in a way is not trying to really attach his brand to Drake. But listen right here as LeBron curates Drake and bigs him up for the track that he did not even write.
You're gonna get, someone's gonna fucking punch you in the fucking face. The shit's done, the event's over. I wanted to do other things. I didn't want to further your reputation or your career by rapping back at you and having this exchange. And that was it for me.
Drake takes you and like, am I letting you down?
Yeah, and what did I tell you?
What did you say to him?
He said that I can never let you down.
You wrote the song and never put it out.
Yeah, because I got home and I just listened back to it and I was like, man, this is not something I ever want to be remembered for. This is not even a place that I necessarily want to go. And to all the people who enjoy that, I tip my hat to you. By the way, hell of a chess move. The song, I thought it was trash, but the chess move was genius. Back against the wall, I either go all the way filthy or I fall back and I have this sort of chink in my armor for the rest of time to a rap purist, which is fine, I can live with that. You know, I would much rather live with that than the things that I was about to, the research I did, the things that I was gonna say and the places that I was gonna go, not only for him, but the other guy too, you know? And now I feel pure, I'm good.
You feel good?
You know, yeah, and you know what I did? I took that energy, just like you said, I took that energy and I put it into me, not you. You don't get that.
You told me you didn't have certain songs on Scorpion until that.
I didn't have In My Feelings, I didn't have Nonstop, I didn't have,
What's one of our favorite songs, Mavi, now?
Sick of these niggas.
Oh my God.
I didn't have Mob Ties.
I'm sick of
these niggas.
I'll hire some help.
Yeah.
Get rid of these niggas.
Let's do it, it's a
Get
rap,
rid of
baby.
you.
Oh, I know LeBron is so sick. Just to find out Rory wrote the track and even mentioned Mob Ties, which he has no affiliation with. You know he wrote it for the boy.
I'm sick of these bitches. Side shooter. Really bitches. Fuck what it was. Hey, it is what it is. Yeah. And I'm with the shits. It is what it is, and I'm so tired. Yeah. I fought with a mob and I got ties. Yeah. They'll knock you off and pay their ties. Yeah. They want me gone, but don't know why. Yeah. It's too late for all that hubbub shit. I don't trust that you my brother shit. That's why I'm done giving in. That's why I made myself a minute.
So it is what it is. You see where LeBron possibly could be coming from. The fact that he put his reputation on the line for his Nike brother Drake, just for him to be exposed as a fraud when it comes to that track. LeBron is no longer taking any other risk, especially when it comes to LA. He's already perceived as a transplant. So him going to the pop-out concert and just vibing out to that Not Like Us track by Kendrick, he's two-stepping and crip-walking that brand into being ingratiated with the LA market. Once again, cross-branding conundrums. So as the gap shrinks every other Olympics between Team USA and the rest of the world, more scrutiny and eyeballs are paying attention to the roster construction of Team USA. And a lot of this played out heavy through the 2024 Paris Olympics. Even though USA did capture the gold, there was a bit controversy here and there about the starting lineups, particularly with Joel Embiid. Him actually committing to Team USA might have came with a stipulation of him being a starter. But just after only a couple exhibition games, it was fairly obvious that Anthony Davis was a much better fit at being the starting center than Embiid. And a lot of NBA pundits through the media kept throwing questions at it, particularly the media members who tend to side with LeBron James. And in order to counteract this, Embiid threw a nice left hook, sort of throwing a subtle jab at LeBron James. You guys check it out.
LeBron now is not the LeBron that was a couple of years ago. So it's a big difference. So the name might be there, but everybody would also tell you, and you can see for yourself, like the athletic LeBron and the dominant that he was a couple of years ago is not the same that he is now. So yeah, I mean, I think people get fooled by the names that are on paper, but yeah, those names have been built throughout their career, and now they're older, so they're not what they used to be.
Now, why is Joel Embiid mentioning this? Because LeBron is listed as a forward on Team USA as a starter. But if you look at the role that he's playing on the team, is almost at guard. So you're going to have Devin Booker or perhaps Jrue Holiday alongside Stephen Curry, who's also at age 35. So basically, LeBron is kind of playing a guard's role on the offensive side of the ball. So that kind of crowds up the forward position on the offensive side of the ball. And by the time you factor in the politics of Joel Embiid having to start at center, you see where things get clustered at that forward position, with Anthony Davis even starting and just other guys even getting minutes. That's why we see Jason Tatum didn't really get a lot of minutes, because that forward position was already crowded, especially on the offensive end. Once again, LeBron James was listed as a forward, particularly playing power forward on the defensive end as a starter for Team USA, but on offense, he was not necessarily blowing past players. He was the playmaker. He was sort of playing a point guard's role. So off rip, there's already a limited amount of spaces for certain players. That's why we've seen Jaylen Brown not necessarily get selected for this team, but Derek White, because there was a need for an extra guard who could play defense and guard multiple positions. So with a lot of media members questioning Joel Embiid starting, they could have also spoke to LeBron James' role on the offensive end for Team USA and how it was making the forward position very crowded on that team. And the lack of transparency and honesty about this has trickled down to the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown talks, which even led to Grant Hill having to answer questions of why Derek White was selected over Jaylen Brown.
I spoke to his agent, and I spoke to his agent. We, I don't know if that was before or after, things went out on Twitter, but yeah, I mean, I think this idea that there's a conspiracy theory. I always love a good conspiracy theory, but it was really truly a basketball decision, and these are tough decisions, but having gone through this with the FIBA competition, you want to find the right balance and the right pieces on the court that we needed. And not to say that he wouldn't have been good. There's a lot of guys. You can go on a list of guys who are very capable and very, very, very qualified. But, for where we were, it was the right decision. And Derek White, I think, will help us as we pursue goal.
Now, Grant Hill is right about the fit. Derek White is the perfect candidate for what they needed. But once again, he should have touched base more on why the forward position was so crowded on Team USA. The politics of Joel Embiid was at play, and also the role of what LeBron James was doing on Team USA on the offensive end, playing a guard's role, but at the same time being listed as a forward. All these circumstances contributed to why Jaylen Brown is not on the team, and also why Jason Tatum really didn't get that much burn on the court. Also, very interesting framing from Grant Hill going to the conspiracy theory route, when everyone knows there are politics here at play. Nike is one of the key sponsors for the Olympics, and other brands are restricted. This is under Olympic Rule 40, and it protects the rights of the Olympics' top sponsors. The athletes themselves are not paid. They're really compensated for their expenses. But those who are sponsored by Nike, like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Devin Booker, they do have bonuses in their contracts. These guys get royalties on their shoe sales, and a lot of these brands have a total number of their sales internationally outside of the US. Nike generates 58% of their revenue, Adidas is 76%, and Under Armour has 39% of their sales internationally. So with the scale of this event just being televised around the world, this is a very big opportunity, almost the Super Bowl of advertising for all these athletic wear companies. So Grant Hill's being a bit disingenuous when he's saying conspiracy theory. His job at Team USA, he's juggling the players' brands, like Jason Tatum being the MVP, the highest paid player in the league, but he doesn't want to embarrass him by giving him limited minutes. Same thing for Joel Embiid. He's a superstar, but he joins Team USA to help them go up against Jokic, but he wants to be a starter. That's the possible stipulation. So it is what it is. The rest of the world is slowly catching up to Team USA. We felt a little bit of the pressure in these Olympics, but with LeBron James and Stephen Curry on their way out of the league, and more than likely will not be there the next time around, the coaching staff, along with Grant Hill, they're going to have to cultivate the next generation to not only have camaraderie on the court, because these teams are getting a lot better, but also have guys comfortable enough to join these teams without compromising their brand, as we see it played out with Jason Tatum. So it's a very unique juggling act that Grant Hill is in right now, but we'll see how it plays out. And until next time, you guys definitely stay safe. Peace.